The trial for rapper YNW Melly continues. The rising South Florida rapper is accused of killing two friends back in 2018. Prosecutors say that he tried covering it up as a drive-by shooting, and now his actions in court are going viral. NBC6's Heather Walker has the video. She's live with more. Heather.
Yeah, it's a moment that's making many cringe. Melly blowing a kiss in court.
YNW Melly's recent bond hearing turned into an intense courtroom showdown as the judge sharply criticized him and his legal team during the session. With 6 years already spent behind bars and the death penalty looming, this explosive hearing could be a game changer for the Florida rapper's fight for freedom. Born Jamal Maurice Demons, YNW Melly has been incarcerated since February 2019. He faces serious charges, including 2 counts of first-degree murder for the alleged killing of his friends Anthony Williams, also known as YNW Sackchaser, and Christopher Thomas Jr., known as YNW Juvie, back in October 2018. According to the prosecution, Melly and his associate, Cortland Henry, aka YNW Bortlin, fatally shot the victims inside a vehicle in Miramar, Florida, then staged the crime scene to look like a drive-by shooting. Melly's first trial ended in a mistrial in July 2023 when the jury failed to reach a unanimous verdict. The retrial is scheduled for September 10, 2025. Leading up to this, his defense team has been vigorously working to secure bail, arguing that circumstances have changed since his initial arrest. The May 6, 2025, hearing began with Judge David Porter reviewing previous motions related to Melly's case. The atmosphere in the courtroom was tense, with both prosecution and defense teams prepared to argue their positions. Melly's lawyers, including Mr. Benjamin and Ms. Liberty, attempted a bold strategy by introducing a new expert witness, Dr. Cuthbert. However, the prosecution objected, claiming insufficient notice about this witness, and the judge sided with them, barring her testimony. This forced the defense to pivot back to purely legal arguments without expert input.
And today we heard testimony on ballistics, but with no murder weapon. The prosecution is going to focus on other evidence in order to get a conviction. The trial continues tomorrow morning. Stay with NBC6 for updates. Reporting live at Broward County Court, Heather Walker, NBC6 News.
A significant point of contention was about evidence suppression. In December 2023, Judge John Murphy ruled that certain evidence was obtained in violation of Melly's constitutional rights and ordered it excluded. The defense argued that this suppressed evidence should not influence the bail decision. After a heated debate, Judge Porter agreed with the defense and ruled that the excluded evidence would not be considered during the bail hearing. This was a major win for Melly's team, as it prevented potentially damaging evidence from factoring into the decision. The hearing delved into which specific evidence was suppressed and which remained admissible. Digital data such as social media records, phone records, and cell site location information were scrutinized. Notably, the cell tower data from October 26, 2018, the day of the alleged murders, remained valid evidence and could be considered when deciding bail. Under Florida law, for capital cases like Melly's, bail can be denied if there is proof evident and presumption great of guilt. This means if the evidence strongly indicates guilt, the defendant can be held without bail. The prosecution argued that even excluding the suppressed evidence,
I didn't ask for anything. I don't understand your continued behavior. Speaking out of turn, yelling at someone with that stuff. Who's on the top and bottom. My page 4. This is State of Florida versus Jamal Demons, 19-1872 CF10A and 23.
Their case remained strong, citing ballistics, cell tower data, and conflicting statements from co-defendant Cortland Henry. The defense countered by pointing to the hung jury from the first trial as evidence that the prosecution's case was not conclusive. They also accused Detective Mark Moretti of attempting to influence witness testimony improperly. Additionally, they raised concerns over new search warrants issued after the suppression order, accusing the prosecution of forum shopping to bypass the exclusion of evidence. For bail conditions, Melly's defense proposed a minimal monetary bond supported by his record label, along with strict measures including residence at a family member's home, GPS monitoring, and 24-hour security personnel. They argued these conditions would ensure Melly's court appearance while protecting public safety. The prosecution, however, emphasized the gravity of the charges and highlighted witness tampering allegations against Melly. They stressed the high flight risk, especially since many countries refuse to extradite individuals facing the death penalty. This made bail a risky proposition in their view. Melly's legal team responded by underscoring the strict security measures and assured the court that the financial bond would be covered by his record label. They also noted that Melly has strong community ties and that he has already spent over 6 years in jail without conviction, raising constitutional questions about his right to a speedy trial.
10594 CFA that Ms. Collins, Mr. Silvershine present for the state. We've got Ms. Lee, Mr. Adelson, take us home to Mr. Benjamin.
Judge Porter thanked both sides for their thorough presentations and stated he would take time to consider the arguments before issuing a ruling. As of early May 2025, the decision was still pending, leaving fans and legal observers anxiously awaiting the
Of course, it's in 2 days. One, we asked him to go to consideration, and 2, we're going to be objecting to Dr. Wolf's testimony. It's because she was noticed in taking less than 36 hours ago. She's going to be testifying as an expert. We don't know what documents she was relying upon. We don't know what materials she was given to review. We could have provided no reports, nor even know the substance of the testimony. Judge, and that's the case law provided to the court. There's actually a presumption of correctness as to Judge Murphy's order that there was proof evident presumption great. So really what the court is considering now is just effectively has that suppressed evidence that the court is now considering change the state's position where proof evident is no longer present. We believe that proof evidence still remains strongly present because, as the court was noting, all the information from the day of the homicide remains.
This bail hearing is just one chapter in a long, complex legal saga for YNW Melly. His troubles began years before the murder charges. At 16, he was convicted for shooting near his high school and spent time in juvenile detention. Over the years, he faced various smaller charges including drug possession and probation violations. Melly's music career skyrocketed with hits like Murder on My Mind, a track he wrote while incarcerated, which ironically has been used as evidence against him. He developed a unique style blending melodic rap with emotional storytelling, setting him apart from many of his Florida peers. The prosecution's case centers around gang affiliations and alleged motives linked to violence. Between sets, text messages presented in court revealed tensions between Melly and one of the victims before the murders. However, the defense has challenged many of these claims, including the authenticity and interpretation of the evidence. Legal controversies have further complicated the case. In late 2023, a prosecutor was removed for allegedly withholding information that could undermine the credibility of a key detective. Witness tampering charges were also brought against Melly, though his defense argues these are strategically timed accusations without solid basis.
I have some factors. I know Ms. Liberty has a couple. If I could, Judge, I believe that the rulings by Judge Murphy, that starting with the testimony of Michelle Boutros, which the Judge Murphy ordered the state that when she testifies, they cannot cross-examine her in any further proceedings. The state appealed it on a motion, on a appeal, a writ of some sort, I forgot which one. And that was, and I attached it to my supplement. The fourth denied their seeking relief. I wouldn't call it an exclusionary rule. Well, that's what you're asking. I'm saying it should not be considered by the court because the court, the law of this case is it was suppressed and it cannot be used by the state in any way.
Florida's death penalty laws, recently amended to lower jury recommendation requirements, add another layer of complexity and constitutional concern, potentially impacting Melly's upcoming trial. Despite the prolonged legal battles and incarceration, Melly's music continues to influence fans worldwide. His record label's commitment to posting bail and the court's eventual ruling will determine if he can regain temporary freedom before his retrial. For now, YNW Melly's future hangs in the balance between the hope of pre-trial release and the possibility of spending more months behind bars with the death penalty threat still looming. The outcome of this hearing will mark a critical turning point in his ongoing legal fight. The prosecution's emphasis on gang affiliations and motives linked to violence has kept the spotlight on the alleged connections between YNW Melly and the G. Shine Bloods. This angle aims to establish a narrative that the murders were not random acts, but rather calculated moves tied to gang conflicts and power struggles. Text messages between Melly and the victims surfaced in court, revealing heated exchanges and simmering tensions in the months leading up to the fatal incident. Yet, Melly's defense team has consistently disputed the validity of these messages, questioning their context and authenticity. They argue that these texts have been taken out of context or manipulated to unfairly portray Melly as a violent gang member.
Conditions in the jail aren't good. He's been there 6 years, Judge. The Constitution says everybody gets the presumption of innocence. 6 years. We're going now past 6 years. He has substantial ties to the community, to his mom, his grandma, his sister, his brother, his friends, his grandpa. They're all here supporting him. The special conditions are there, and that's what we get out of the different case law. That prove evident agree, that's one thing. You go to the second. Are there special conditions that we can put in place to protect those three things? Make sure he's present here.
Adding to the complexity of the case are ongoing legal battles that have cast doubt on the integrity of the investigation. In late 2023, a key prosecutor was removed from the case after allegations emerged that she withheld information that could damage the credibility of Detective Mark Moretti, a pivotal figure in the prosecution's case. This development raised serious concerns about potential misconduct and the fairness of the trial. The defense also faces witness tampering charges, accusing Melly of attempting to influence key witnesses through coded communications. However, his legal team argues these charges are unfounded and strategically timed to coincide with critical moments in the bail process, painting them as attempts to derail Melly's bid for temporary release. Meanwhile, Florida's evolving death penalty laws introduce yet another layer of uncertainty. Recent changes have lowered the threshold for jury recommendations required to impose the death sentence, moving away from the previous requirement of unanimous consent. This legal shift has sparked constitutional debates and could significantly impact Melly's trial outcome if he is convicted. The defense may challenge these new statutes, arguing that they violate constitutional protections and jeopardize the fairness of the retrial.
In light of my client's popularity, we opted not to put somebody on to give you the address of where he'd be living at. We were going to proffer, I would give that in camera as far as where he could live at. He would be residing with his sister and with his brother. Give you the address. We would have the security detail. All of that can be given to you in camera. As far as the second amount, his record label would be if there was a monetary bond in place. His record label is agreeing to put the monetary bond up for him. So the financials would be covered because it would be coming from his record label.
Despite these hurdles, YNW Melly's influence on the music scene remains strong. Even while incarcerated, he has maintained a loyal fan base and continued to release music, keeping his artistic presence alive. His record label's willingness to post bail on his behalf signals ongoing confidence in his potential and commercial value, illustrating that his career is far from over despite the legal challenges. As the court weighs the arguments surrounding bail, the future of YNW Melly hangs in a delicate balance. If granted bail, he could experience a brief return to freedom before the retrial, allowing him a chance to rebuild his life and prepare his defense outside the confines of jail. If denied, Melly faces the prospect of spending additional months behind bars, with the death penalty still looming as the ultimate consequence. This hearing is a pivotal moment in a saga filled with legal drama, emotional highs and lows, and the raw realities of the criminal justice system. Whatever the outcome, the eyes of fans, legal experts, and the hip-hop community remain firmly fixed on the case. It is a story that intertwines music, fame, and justice, highlighting the complexities faced by young artists caught in the crossfire of legal battles. As YNW Melly's journey continues, one thing remains clear: his fight for freedom is far from over, and every courtroom decision will ripple through his life and career for years to come.